Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am so happy that you're here today. So if you're new here, you probably figured out by the title of this video that well, first of all, my name is Kim, and welcome. I'm so happy that you're here and that I am a mom of 9.
I watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along. And I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment.
Okay, also I think it's important to say two things just to preface this. Is one is that these are not in any particular order. I just kind of, as I was thinking of things, I jotted them down. So they're in no particular order, no order of importance or anything like that. And then secondly, I want to say that anything I say, this is not me coming to you guys as a know-it-all, or I don't think I'm super mom, or that I have it all figured out or anything like that, because I struggle daily as a mom. I have to seek the Lord daily as a mom to help me to be a better mom, to be a better person, to be more patient, all the things that every mom struggles with. So this is in no way me saying, oh, I know it all, I've learned it all, I have 9 kids and I have it figured out, because I absolutely don't. It's simply meant to be an encouragement, and also that just because I have 9 children, I don't think that that's the right thing for everyone. I don't believe that everyone is intended to have 9 children or more, or whatever the number might be. I think that is a decision that is between you and your spouse, and you and your spouse and the Lord, and however you go about things in your home, that is absolutely between you guys, and there is zero judgment here whatsoever. So I just want to start with that. Okay. So things I've learned as a mom of 9 is that it is a lonely world. And I don't want to start with something negative, but I think that this is one of those things that it's not just being a mom of many. I think it's just a reality for a lot of moms that it can be lonely. And if you are a stay-at-home mom, I feel like it can be even more lonely and a little bit more isolating, because we get so focused on our home and our responsibilities, and homeschooling, if you're homeschooling, or your kids are in school and you have responsibilities just that come along with that, and caring for our children, that takes up a lot of time, and it takes up a lot of energy. And because of that, we are often not involved in a ton of things outside of our home, or have a lot of time or energy to put into other relationships. So yeah, it can be lonely as a mom, and definitely it can be lonely as a mom of many kids. So the second thing I've learned is that all kids are not the same. And what I mean by that is, I think when I first became a mom and I had 2 children, they were 17 months apart. You know, they were raised almost like twins. They did pretty much everything the same. They played together. The same kind of rules worked for them. The same discipline worked for them. You know, and just it seemed like they were all the same. And then for my first, I will say multiple kids, because I don't want to call out this one child specifically, but for my first several children I had, I could do the same approach in dealing with something, and I would get the same result from all of those. Then I had a child come along who did not respond the same way at all. And we kept trying to go about it the same way, doing the same things, saying the same things that we had always done with our other children, and it just did not work for this child. Discipline, the way we had chosen to discipline in our home for all of our other children, did not work for this particular child. And he really had to learn that we need to know each child individually, and we need to learn what works best for them, and each child needs to be handled individually in their own way. It really changed us as parents, and it changed how our household works. And it gave me a child who didn't respond to those things, and he needed me to figure out what was the best way to reach them and to reach their heart, so that we could make progress. And once we learned that and applied that to raising our children, I think everyone has grown from that. And so I'm so thankful to have learned that, because it's something that I really didn't know. Of course, I knew that kids had different personalities and, you know, all of those things, but it had not been my experience that I needed to change drastically how I was approaching that child or handling situations because they just didn't respond to it. The thing that I have learned as a mom of many is that it really does not get much harder the more kids you have. And I know that that sounds insane, because I remember having 2 kids and knowing people that had 5, 6 kids and thinking, oh my gosh, no, I could not do that. But, you know, as my husband were married, and I explained in another video that we went through where we thought we weren't going to be able to get pregnant for for a few years. We lost several babies along the way. And through that process, it just changed our hearts as to how we felt about children. And so I get it that that seems insane. But the truth is for me anyway, now I know this is different for some people who have multiples and all of that. We've never had multiples. All of our babies came one at a time. It's just how the Lord gave them to us. But He gave them to us one at a time. And so we went from 2 to 3. And we made that adjustment and figured out how life was going to work with 3 kids. And then we went from 3 to 4 and made that adjustment, and so on and so forth. And so it really didn't get a lot harder. We just learned to adapt, you know. We had more clothes. We had more knowledge. You know, we just passed down the clothes. We passed down the toys. It was just another person in our home to love. And you just learn to adjust, and it gets, in some ways, truthfully, it gets easier the more you have, because they go off and they constantly have a friend, and they always have someone to play with. And if they need something, there's a lot of other options, that people that can help them out, that can grab them that snack or run them to the restroom. And so in a lot of ways, it is easier the more we've had. Another thing that I've learned the more children that I've had is to really live in the moment and be present. And that is a very difficult thing for moms, because, like I said before, we have so many responsibilities and so many things that we're managing and that we're working in our head at any given time. I am usually thinking of 5 or 6 different things minimum. What are we going to have for dinner tonight? What food do I need to pull out? Is the laundry done? What events do my children have coming up? The house is dirty. The beds need made. So-and-so wants to go on a play date. I need to drop this teenager off here. This one has a sporting event. You know, all the things, right, that are constantly in our minds that we know we have to do and that we're responsible for. And we can forget to just be in the moment. And that is something that even today I am still working on. I have to remind myself that all of this other stuff can wait. And when I have a child ask me, hey mom, do you want to play a game with me? Or will you take me to the park? Or whatever the situation is, that I want to be able to recognize what is important at this moment. And you know, when I look back on this moment, what will I wish I would have done more? Will I wish that I would have ran to the grocery store, got the things, done this job, done the dishes? Or would I wish that I would have just sat down and done that puzzle with the kids, or taken them to the park and pushed them on the swing? Or, you know, sometimes with my teens, it's at nighttime is when they want to open up and they want to talk. And that's when I'm exhausted. I have learned to just shut off the TV, put the book down, whatever it is, and just be in the moment and experience that time with them, because it doesn't happen all the time. And I've learned that as my kids get older, the less they ask for that stuff. And then I long for it. I want them to ask me, hey mom, do you want to play a game with me? But they're into other things, or they have their own life. And so those things are fewer and farther between. And because I've learned that, it is so valuable to really be in the moment. I know I will never regret stopping what I was doing and just being their mom. Number 5, Kids do not need nearly as much as we think they need. And I have talked about this a little bit in that I tend to be more of a minimalist mom. When a 2 and a 3-year-old have, you know, 200-300 options of toys to play with, what winds up happening is that they wind up not playing with anything. They're bored. They don't know what to do because their brains cannot process that amount of stuff. They cannot look at 60, 70 things and figure out what they want to play with. They just feel overwhelmed. And that's how I feel as an adult. When there is a million things sitting out on the counters and just clutter everywhere, when I look at that, I don't even know what to do with it. I don't know where to start. And it's the exact same thing for children. So I'm sure you, okay, my battery died. So not sure exactly where I was at, but what I was saying is that in our home, our old home, our garage became the space that it just had so much stuff in it. Our entire house was organized. Almost everything had a place and was always in its place, or we could easily get it back to its place at the end of the day. It wasn't a big deal and it wasn't overwhelming, but our garage kind of became the, you know, place where if you didn't know where something went, then you threw it in there. And then when I would walk in there, I would say, okay, I'm going to clean this garage. I'm going to get it organized. I would walk in there and I just felt completely overwhelmed because there was so much stuff. I didn't know how to process it. I didn't know where to start, how to organize it, even where to begin. And I would be so overwhelmed by that I would wind up just walking away and closing the door so that then I didn't have to look at it. And it's the same concept for kids. The more stuff they have, the more it clutters their brain, and then they feel overwhelmed by it. They don't know what to do, and then they wind up doing nothing and they're bored. So I have found that the less is more with children. Number 6 thing that I've learned as a mom of many is that I do not have to be like any other mom. And I think this is super important, and it took me too many years to learn this, and I had too many years of thinking that I needed to fit in this certain box, whatever that might be. And I'm sure it's different from all of us depending on where you live, you know, what your culture is, your environment. All of those things come into play and start to affect us and what we think we're supposed to be. And I did that for a lot of years. I thought I have to put on this image, or I need to do this with my children, or feed them this way, or all the things, right, that we're constantly being bombarded with in our world today. I believe, my beliefs as a Christian is that my children were assigned the mom and father that they were supposed to have, and that I have the exact children that I was supposed to have. And I believe the Lord knew that, and He gave me the kids that I was supposed to have, and He gave my children the mom that they were supposed to have. And why do I want to mess that up? God knew me. He knew my flaws. He knew everything about me, and still chose me to be their mother. So why am I not okay with that, right? That's just kind of what I had to come to the realization of. If God knew all of this about me and He still gave me these kids, then He must know that I already have what it takes to be their mom. And no, I'm not going to be perfect because of that. I'm not always going to make the right choices because of that. I'm going to have to apologize to my kids often, and I do, for when I make mistakes and I realize later, like, gosh, I overreacted, or I shouldn't have raised my voice, or I wish I would have said yes in this situation, or I should have said no in this situation. Whatever it might be, the circumstances that we come across as moms, I've learned that I am the right mom for my kids. And once I accepted that, and I shut off the world and everything else that it tells me that I need to be and how I need to act and all of that, that I became such a better mom about that. But I've also learned that I am okay as a mom just the way I am. In fact, I'm better than okay. I was put on this earth to be the mother of the 9 children that God gave me, and I want to do the very best I can by that. And if I am constantly trying to fit another image of what someone else wants me to be, then I am not going to be able to be present and be involved and be the mother that I was meant to be to my kids. It is important to recognize what you need as a mom for yourself and to make that happen. When I had a lot of little kids, and I still have a lot of little kids. I have 7 children that are 11 and under, but I had 5 children that were under the age of 5, or that were 5 and under at one point. And that is a chaotic period, no matter which way you slice it. It does not matter how organized you are. It doesn't matter how much sleep you get. It is exhausting to have that many little children, and they just require a lot in those years. And so there were periods of time throughout those years when I had a lot of little kids that I did not take care of my body properly. And now that our last baby, our final baby, is 2 years old, I am just now getting back into the swing of really prioritizing my health and making sure that I am fitting in the things that I need as a mom. And when I say that, I'm not talking about making myself the priority of my home. I do not believe that. I do not, and I don't ever want to feel that way. It is not all about me. There are 11 people in my home, and I have a responsibility to them. But I also have a responsibility to myself, and I believe that God does want me to take care of myself, and that my health is important, and that my mental state is important, and it affects the way I treat my husband. It affects everything in our home. So I have learned that even though, yes, it takes some time away from my children and my husband and my home to invest some time into me, that is also important. And so the way that I have been doing that recently, that I have just found made a huge difference. I cannot stress this enough. The difference that it has made in my life is to get up before my children. And for some of you, that might be easy to you, right? That might just be something that you've always done. But for me, because I had a long season of having a lot of little kids, I had just fallen into the schedule of waking up when my children wake up. For us for a lot of years, because really that was the season we were in, and it was necessary for me. However, now I'm not in that season quite as much, and so I started waking up early. I started at 7 o'clock, then I moved to 6 o'clock, and my goal is to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and getting up each morning. I get up, I get my clothes on, brush my teeth, do what I have to do, and then I get right outside. I go right outside and I go for a walk, and I love to walk for an hour if possible, but a half hour I try to make my absolute minimum. And I have found that the second my face hits that fresh air and the sunshine, oh my goodness, it is so good for my soul. And just, I'm out there as the world and nature is coming to life. I hear the birds, and it's just so quiet and peaceful, and I have time to think. I can process the day's thoughts and what I need to do, and just kind of just have a moment to myself. And then usually I come back and I try to pray and read my Bible and have my quiet time with the Lord. And then I often have, now that I'm getting up earlier, I often have even an hour once I get back before my children start to wake up. Now sometimes I come back and somebody is up, and that's fine too. But a lot of times I have extra time where I've been folding my laundry in the mornings, or if there's dishes left over from the night before, I'll take care of those. Or I can just sit down and read a book, or I can edit a video. And it's just so nice, you guys. Like, by the time my children wake up, I am happy to see them. I am excited. I'm like, can't wait for them to get up. It's just, I feel like my energy level matches theirs. We're both just happy to be awake. And before, that was not the case. That I will never regret the time I have spent with my children, ever. I will never regret it. I am blessed, first of all, enough to be able to be a stay-at-home mom. I know that not all mothers have that ability, and I am aware of that, and I know that I am blessed to be able to be a stay-at-home mom. I am blessed that my husband has a job that can support our family, and he doesn't need me, or our family doesn't need me to also be a breadwinner in this home. And I do not take that for granted, and I do not want to take that for granted. And so I will never regret this time that I put in. I'm never gonna regret what I might have given up to be a stay-at-home mom, or what I might have given up to be a homeschooling mom. or what I might have given up to be a mom of 9 children. You know, I know it's different, and that when you have less children, often there are more things that you can do. It's easier to go places. It's easier to go out to dinner. It's easier to go on vacation. You know, just less people. It's common sense that it would be easier to do those things. But I am so thankful for the time I have with them, and I know that I will never regret it. And I will never regret taking them on these trips like we're on right now, a 3-month tour of the US, and spending the time with them and all the things. And yes, I would love a Louis Vuitton purse, and yes, you know, I would love a fancier car. There's not a lot of cool options when you have 9 kids. I'm just going to let you know that. If you want to have 9 kids or more than, I think, 7 kids, driving a cool car, yep, it's gone. You're never going to have that ability. Like, it's just not going to happen. And yeah, sometimes I see cars, I'm like, oh, I wish I could drive that cute little car, or oh, I love this Jeep, but we would never fit in it. Yes, I'm never going to have a cool car, probably ever again, because then I'm going to have grandkids and I'm going to want to transport them everywhere too. So having a cool car is out of the picture for me, and I've accepted that. And all the things that come along with that, truthfully. I'm never going to regret it, and I don't think that you will regret either spending time with your kid. Okay, another thing I've learned is that kids are extremely capable. I think often we think that our children are too young to do this, that, or the other thing, and the reality is they can do so much more than we give them credit for. So in our house, usually starting around 4 years old, you get a responsibility. It might be a small responsibility, but you get a job. And I have found that when those, first of all, young kids, they want to help. They want to be a helper. They want to help you in the kitchen. They want to feel like they are contributing. And when we give them a job, it makes them feel important. And it's good for them. At 4 years old, you can help unload the dishwasher. You might not be able to put it away yet, but you can definitely unload it. You can help pick up toys. You can organize things. You can keep your clothes clean. There's so many things that they can do. In our house, we run a buddy system. So there are our 3 oldest kids who are 17, 16, and 11. They all have younger buddies. And what that means is that, like when we're at a meal, they are responsible for their buddy. Responsible in the sense that they usually sit next to them. If that child needs seconds or needs ketchup or whatever it might be, they help out that child. What this does is it helps me as a mom not to have every single job in the house, because I don't believe that every job in the house is my job just because I'm a mom. I believe that it's important for kids to work. It's important to instill a good oh my goodness, can I talk today? It is important to instill a good work I can't say it, work ethic is what I'm trying to say, into our children. And I think it's good for them, and it's good for us as parents, right? We don't need to take on every job. Children are our responsibility as parents. I'm not asking my children to raise their siblings. However, I do expect them to help in our home, and helping with their siblings is good for them. It teaches them to serve others, to put other people before themselves. It helps them to look out for other people's needs. And also, what I have learned is that it bonds them together as siblings. So all of our kids that have buddies, their buddies are so close to them. Most of our children are very close anyway. I mean, all of them are close, but there are obviously some that have closer relationships with certain ones than they do with others. And that's okay, that's natural. But because they have this buddy system that's been in place since they were born, so for the younger ones, they've had the same buddy since they were born. I mean, obviously when they're a baby, I am their buddy. I am the one who is with them all the time, providing all of their needs, changing their diapers, getting their bottles, whatever their need may be. But usually once they're 2 years old, in Gray's case, our last baby, she's had her buddy since she could walk. So since she was before 1 year old, she had her buddy, which is our daughter Bella. Their bond is so tight and completely unbreakable. And if I am not available, these kids know that they can go to their buddies, and their buddies will drop whatever they're doing and they will help them out. And it has been a blessing to us in so many ways. Again, because I am not the only person responsible for everything around here, but because of the relationships that it has formed. And something I have learned as a mom of 9 is that people say mean things. just mean, ugly, nasty things. And you know what? It's okay. I've learned to handle it. People say all kinds of things when you have a lot of kids, and I do not believe that all of them are ill-intended. I think some of it is just ignorance, not knowing. Maybe some people have had a bad experience either in their own life or maybe another family that they knew that had a lot of children who maybe weren't doing things the right way. I don't know what the situation is, but I know that over the years we have had people say some really awful things to us. And I've had people say some really awful things to us in front of my children, and unwarranted. Like, I'm not talking about situations where, you know, my kids were acting a fool out in public and then someone said something mean. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking just generally unsolicited advice, opinions, and nasty things. I was in Sam's one time with my kids, and I had a lady come up to us just on her own. We were just shopping. They were all following along. They were doing exactly what they were supposed to do. They were behaving very well, which is not always the case. I'm not saying that, but this particular time they were. And we were just shopping, just doing our grocery shopping. And this lady came up to me and she said, "Are all these kids yours?" And I said, "Yeah, they are." And I said, "We have 9, you know." And she was so mean, and she looked at me again right in front of my children, and she said, "If I had 9 kids, I would kill myself." Yeah, like, I'm serious. Right in front of my kids said this, that she would kill herself if she had 9 kids. And my first reaction was to say something terrible. I'm not gonna lie. But then I really felt sorry for her, you know. I felt like, oh, well, that's sad, you know, and there's probably a reason that you don't have 9 kids if you feel that way about children, especially children who are well behaved and respectful and doing what they're supposed to be doing. And, you know, it was really heartbreaking to me, and it upset me that she said something so mean, and worse, that she said it in front of my children, you know. And we've gotten all the, you know, people think they're being funny and ask us if we own a TV and, you know, all the things. My hands must be full. I must have heard that. Oh gosh, if I had $1 every time I heard that, I would be rich. And again, I know that some of those comments, they don't mean anything negative by them. Some people are just downright mean, and they just say mean things, or they stare at us everywhere we go. We'll just get out, and my older kids, it bothers them now, you know. We'll get out somewhere and we're just walking like a normal family, just doing normal things at the fair or at an event or whatever we're doing, the grocery store, and you will just see people, like, you know, staring, or they count, like they want to know how many of us there are and all of that. And, you know, I've just learned over the years that I don't need to be worried about that. And I am not living my life for these people. I don't have 9 kids so that we can get looks or that people will pay attention to us. And I have 9 children because that's what the Lord blessed me with, and I am so thankful for each and every one of those kids, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. So I don't need to worry about what anybody else might think about us, or what they might have to say about our family or the size of our family, and it's just okay. I'm going to try to hurry through these because my husband is back with the kids from the pool and they are itching to come in. So, all right, next thing on my list is I have learned to follow my gut. So this kind of goes back to having confidence as a mom, and the mom that I am, and the mom that God made me to be, but learning to follow my gut. When something feels wrong, I have learned to listen to that feeling. There's so many different ways that this applies to motherhood, and if you're a mother, you know this, but you can never go wrong with following your gut, even if it goes against what everyone else is saying, if it goes against everything else in the world, or that the world is telling you, or whatever it might be. If it goes against what every other mom you know is doing, if it feels wrong or it feels right to you, it probably is. You know your children and your family and your home better than anyone else ever will. And no one will ever know your children like you do. No one will ever be as invested in your children as you are, or love your children the way that you do. And I believe because of that, God has given us something internally that as mothers that we know. And I can think of one incident in particular where my children asked me to do something. My gut feeling was instantly no, but I allowed them to talk me into this situation and make me feel bad that, you know, everyone else was doing this or it wasn't that big of a deal or whatever. And I caved into that gut feeling, and I went ahead and said yes, knowing in my heart and knowing in my gut that it wasn't the right thing for my kids. And that situation wound up ending very badly for my kids. Luckily, my children were okay, but it was one of those things that afterwards it just reinforced to me that nope, as a mom, I was given this gift to know my children, to know what is right for them, and I am going to follow that from here on out. And since then, you know, because my children remember this experience, I often remind them when they say, why not? Or, you know, so-and-so is doing it, or every other kid I know, and I just remind them. I remind them of that situation, and I said, do you remember when this happened? And I had told you guys that my gut feeling was to say no, that I felt like it wasn't a good idea, and something happened. And I'm not talking about like just having a fear over everything and never allowing them to do anything. I'm talking about the important stuff. When something inside your soul tells you, this is not a good situation for my kids to be in, this is not the kind of person that I want my children hanging around, whatever the situation might be, follow it. I'm telling you from experience, follow your gut. And that is something I have learned to do, and I am so thankful for that. I've learned is that it really goes by way too fast. There's that saying, what is it, that the days are long but the years are short. As a younger mom, that didn't make a lot of sense to me because the days were long, very long. You were up early, you were up 4 or 5 times a night, you never got any rest. It was very overwhelming. Everyone crying at one time, everyone needing you at one time. And you cannot see in those moments, in that season of your life, that the years are short. And it's so true. Now that I have a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old who are going to be graduating in the next year or two, I am seeing that, oh my gosh, it just really does go by so fast. And that goes back to being present in the moment. As you see how fast they grow and how quickly it really is in the end, and that they're going to be leaving your home and having a life of their own, and just hoping and praying that you set them up for success, that you taught them everything they need to know, which, by the way, you cannot ever teach them everything they need to know. It's just not possible. But that you've taught them enough, and for me, mostly that they are secure in themselves, who they are in this world, and that they're not going to be followers of everything that comes along, you know. And once you realize that this is happening, it's just, you realize, oh my gosh, it really does truly seem like yesterday that they were little. So I encourage you, if you're in that place right now where you have a lot of little kids, or you're overwhelmed, or you have one little kid and it feels like your days are just never ending and it's just the same day on repeat every day, and it feels like it's going to be that way for the rest of your life. It is not. It is just a season. It will pass, and then you will have the next season, and it will also pass, and next thing you know, it's over, and you might not have those children in your home anymore. And it is so sad to think about. I'm not even there yet, and I could cry at the thought of it, and have cried at the thought of it. So it really does go by way faster than you would think. Okay, and the final thing that I have learned as a mom of 9 kids is that every parent thinks they are a failure at some point in time, no matter what. And I also had this lady tell me, she said, as a mom, if you are not doubting that what you're doing is the right thing, if you're not worried that you're doing the right thing, then you're probably the bad parent. She said, if you're worrying that, and I don't mean worrying like truly in a way that's like bad for our health, but you know, if you're not thinking about like, am I doing the right thing as a mom? Am I the best mom that I can be? If you're not thinking about those things, then that's the bad parent. If you're the mom that's sitting around wondering at times, like, am I doing the right thing? Is this the best thing for my kids? Is there anything I could do better? You're the good mom. The good moms are the ones who are sitting around worrying about those things, right? Because we want to be the best moms that we can be. We want to be doing everything that we can to help our children become the very best version of themselves that they can be, to be who God made them to be. That's why we worry. That's why we put so much energy into it. But because of that, like I said, we cannot train them to know every possible thing that they need to know in this world. It's not possible. They need to learn a lot of those things on their own. Some of it's just trial and error. Some of it's things that just the older you get, you learn by experience, right? Like you learn that you don't want to hang out with this kind of crowd because you see what happens when you do, or that whatever the situation might be. And so because of all of those things, at some point in your life as a mom, you are going to think that you are a failure. I cannot even count the times over the years where I have cried to my husband and said, I am the worst mom ever. Fully knowing that I'm not the worst mom ever, but I have moments where I feel like that, like all I did today was raise my voice, or I worried so much today about making sure that my house looked perfect that I didn't spend any time with my kids, you know? Goes back to having confidence in who you are and who God made you to be, and knowing that you are the exact mom for those children, and you have to have faith in that and know that and be strong. And what really matters is that you're being the best mom that you know how to be to the children that God gave you. You know, you have a bad day, apologize to your children. It's so important to apologize to your children. When you make mistakes, own it. Go to your kids and say, I am sorry. I made a mistake. I can't tell you guys how many times I've had to do that. I've had to go to my kids and say, I'm sorry for the way I behaved. I'm tired and I let it get in the way and I took it out on the wrong person, you know? I took it out on you guys and it wasn't your fault. It's just that mommy's tired, or I'm not feeling well. I'm a little overwhelmed, and I have to be honest with them, and it helps, and it's just amazing. They love you and they forgive you. And it's right back to normal, and they want you to be happy and they want to be happy, and we have to let those things go. Encouragement to you in some small way that you will go out and be the best mom you can, and that you will just let go of the things in this world that do not matter and put your time and energy into the things that do. So thank you so much for being here today. If you enjoy this kind of content, please like and let me know. Comment below. I love chatting with you guys in the comments. I would love to know some things that you've learned as a mom along the way, no matter how many kids you've had. And it really helps me to know what you guys enjoy, so that I can continue to make content that you enjoy watching and hopefully maybe learn from or are encouraged by. So thanks again, guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.
Together, if I could stop the